Hey guys, this is Shon again. You probably saw my intro. So I wanted to walk you through kind of my version of intro to Maya stuff. You should have watched the first 6 1-minute videos and tried that out a little bit. And here's kind of my version. You can follow along or just let it play as you play around with Maya. So for starters, opening Maya, my trick for opening stuff is anything in Windows. If you hit Windows key and then start typing whatever you're looking for, like Word, it comes right up. So in this case, I'm going to go Maya, and I've got multiple Mayas installed, so I'm just doing arrows. So Maya 2020. So it's really fast. You can just go Windows, Maya, hit it, and then it loads. I think. Reloading, you're loading. Okay. So this output window you can kind of just leave alone. It spits out some data. The first time you open Maya, it'll open pretty slow. This opened really fast because I've just recently opened it. So there's a lot going on the user interface. There's all these window drop downs and all these tools, and there's these tabs. So most programs, 3D programs that can do a lot of stuff, tend to look like this. So the trick is to kind of just remember to look for the basics, and then once you get to know how to comfortable navigating, then you can start to explore all the individual different features. So anytime I would get to a new 3D application, the first thing I do is figure out, okay, how do I move around in the viewport? And in Maya, a lot of programs do it exactly like Maya because Maya is so popular. So if you hold down the Alt key on your keyboard and then left mouse, and then it's just, you're holding Alt the whole time and pressing one of the 3 left, right, and middle mouse to get around. So and then you can just play with it. So holding Alt, left mouse is rotate, right mouse is zoom, and middle mouse is pan. So, kind of get used to doing that, and once you're comfortable doing it, and play around with it. There's no harm, or nothing's going to hurt or anything. You're not going to break anything. Then the next step is like, how do you create simple objects, and how do you move them around? Once that's figured out on any 3D program, then you can kind of branch out a little bit from there. So in this case, up on these windows up here, there's File, Edit. You can go to Create, and then these are all different types of objects you can play with. Polygons is a really common type of object. Most games run off polygons. Movies used to use NURBS very exclusively, but nowadays they're using polygons and other types of surfaces more frequently. So I'm just going to go polygon primitive sphere. So that made a sphere. You'll see in the corner here that it's printing out. Let's see if we're still recording there. It's printing out my button presses. So if I do something and you're wondering what I did, a lot of times it'll pop up over there. So when I first made the object, let's see if it'll do it. Create polygon sphere. No, it didn't do it. I think I didn't have a tool. I probably had this pointer tool selected, and then I went create polygon sphere. Yeah, so there's no gizmo here. It's just a sphere, so I can like look at it and see what's going on. Then these are the tools. These are both selection tools. That's some sort of material tool. This is move, rotate, scale. I'm in sub object somehow. Did I do that one? Oh, cool. I never use these tools. This is a experiment for me. Okay. Also, what's helpful is down in the corner right here, you'll see stuff pop in, like display. This is like the shortcut key. Then this is an explanation of what these tools are. So that's paint selection tool, and this one is lasso tool. So when I did paint selection, it sent me into a sub-object mode, which we don't want to do that. So we're going to pop back over to object mode. Maybe just turn this off. Not working, huh? Oh, it's because this tool is active. Yeah. Okay. Back to normal. Again, I don't usually use these tools. That's why it's kind of messing me up right now. I usually just hit the hotkeys. So Q is for, what is Q? Q is for select, W is move, E is rotate, R is scale. And you get these gizmo guys here. You'll notice there's 3 axes placed. If you spent any time doing like graphs and whatever in high school, there's 3 axes. X and Y is like the front plane in Maya, and then Z is depth. So you kind of think about it like if you're looking at a page from front, you have like 2 major axes to worry about, and then depth. So that's why it's letting me grab all those things. So you can grab this middle piece and it just moves it around in your viewport based on the direction you're looking. But that can kind of get confusing. You can get lost real quick in 3D because it's hard to understand depth. So most of the time I stick with moving these around. So if I watch, I'll create. Another thing in Maya, this is covered in the intro videos. If you hold space, you get all these window drop downs. That's all of this stuff, and then you can, for different options, you'll see the windows change. Everything's here, so I tend to just hold space bar all the time. So I'm just going to create another, like a cube. Create a cube. So it's hard to tell like which one's in front a lot of times unless you turn the viewport. And it's easier, at least in my head, to keep track of the 3D space if I stick with the planes that line up with these grids. But yeah, because if you grab this middle part, it gets kind of confusing because I just dragged it that way, but you don't know exactly where you put it, and sometimes it can get kind of strange. Like if you're on a strange axis and then move it, sometimes it gets into a weird spot, like why is that there versus somewhere else? Like why did that just go there? So if you start getting your objects into like a really strange position, you can go back over to the channel box. See all these numbers right here? This is the location in space, translate, rotate, and scale. Oh yeah, scale. I didn't do scale yet. Scale's fun. So yeah, play around with all these different options. If you used any 3D program, you might be really comfortable doing this already. But anytime I get into a new program, I just make sure I figure out how to do all the basics before I get into any kind of fancy tools. But anyway, so I'm back in channel box. If I left click and drag and release and then hit 0 and enter, it moved everything back down to center. The reason why it's invisible there is because I set scale to 0. So I'm going to set that back to 1. So that resets the location. It's called a transform. So it resets the transform on the object. This time I'm just zeroing out translation and rotation and then setting scale back to 1. So this kind of resets the position of the object. So if it gets into a weird spot, you can reset it. Like sometimes you might be working and you're panning around and you like get, oh yeah, F is frame, so frames whatever object you have selected. That's a very important button. So I grab, I lost the sphere. There it is. I grab the sphere, hit F. Now I'm kind of panning and rotating around the sphere's point of interest. If I pan, I'm kind of now panning in a different spot. So a lot of the time to center myself, I like to use this grid to know this is the center of the world and where 0 is. So I could be working and like going over here and duplicating and making like a whatever. I'm messing around with stuff, making a tree, a weird space tree off in nowhere land. Maybe it's a spaceship. Who knows where it is? Huh. Right there. It's a person. Hit F. Now I can like pan around my cool new guy I made, but everything's way off from 0. And I know I'm not on 0 because I can't see the grid. And then like, you know, I could grab this and move the axis back over close to 0. As long as I know stuff's within that grid, I'm kind of generally in an okay place. But yeah, so play around with all this. This is the basics to Maya. We'll go into more stuff later. A lot more is covered in those first 6 minutes of video. But this is, for me, any 3D program. Let me figure out how to do that first, and then we'll do keyframes and stuff in the maze assignment. Alright, have fun playing around. See you later.